Lim, you run your own fight promotion. UFC's obviously trembling in its headquarters right now. Run me through like what that's actually like running like a fight promotion that runs amateur fights, pro fights. I'm guessing like most people interested in MMA would be super interested to know these regional scenes because it's kind of like the starter in the UFC career mode. You start off and you start backyard, then you go to small promotion. Like I just think it'd be interesting to share like your journey with that and like just like a day in the life, like how that works for you. I think it'd be super fascinating to know.
Yeah, I think I'll start this with a preface that like we aren't street beefs. Do you know what I mean?
You wish you were street beefs.
I was about to say street beefs are way more successful than us. No, so first of all, like the UFC and major promotions, so PFL, KSW, Octagon, Bellator when it was around, even Cage Warriors, like these are different animals. These are animals that are fed by streaming deals, they're fed by sponsorships, and they are fed by ticket sales. But they can, like the UFC managed to survive through COVID, not too much of a trouble with the Apex because ticket sales weren't the only thing that was sustaining them. At the amateur and the regional scene, it's a total different kettle of fish. Right. No one is tuning in on a Saturday night to watch a promotion unless they know somebody in that promotion, or, well, there is no or. It's just if they know somebody in that promotion. So the promotion that I run along with Ray Thompson is Almighty Fighting Championship. And the promotion's been around for quite some time. I became part of that in about a year ago or so. But the backbone of our promotion is the fighters. And as such, we've got a lot of things that we do for the fighters that are very specific to the regional scene that you're not going to see at the larger scale.
So just let me ask you, like percentage-wise of your income, what percentage of that like fight promotions business at that level comes from ticket sales, would you say?
Okay, let me do some dead quick maths here. So we do have a couple of streaming deals, but they're very minor. We have a pay-per-view, and we have some sponsorships, and we've got a main sponsor called Virtua who are very generous to us. Shout out to James Watson, you're an absolute G. However, looking at all of that, 85%. Interesting. 85, maybe 80 on a bad day, or 90 on a good day, depending on who it is that you've got fighting. But like everything, have you heard of Pareto's law? The idea of 20% of your actions result in 80% of your results. Well, it's the same thing with what we're doing here. You have guys who fight who are super popular, who are super enthusiastic, who want to be seen, who want to grow into stars, and they will bring an army with them. And those are the guys that are really at the backbone of our business, and those are the guys that keep the lights on, allow us to progress, allow us to make the show grow, expand into new markets. And you know, it's a miniature version of the UFC's sort of build a star role sort of thing, but in a sense of like who's going to come through the door, who's going to put a bum in a seat, and who's going to spend an evening enjoying what actually now is actually pretty high level MMA, man. You know, like the amateur scene is, I say this all the time, but it's no different to the pro scene of 10, 15 years ago. I would put a bunch of our amateurs against pros from 10 years ago, and I would be very, very confident.
And like, so just like, I guess this is an interesting question. Like, if you're scaling a organization, a fighting promotion, the economics change obviously as you get bigger. How do you grow that? How do you make that business bigger? What are some of the hurdles and stuff like? So if you got, so you dominate the scene, because I think what's interesting to talk about as well is you obviously run an MMA gym. I'm a best place in Leeds for MMA, jiu-jitsu, that sort of stuff. How do you, you've got they come in, they train, they compete, and it's a beautiful sort of like adjacent business model that supercharges your fight promotion.
100%.
How do you scale it? I mean, what is it, having venues in different locations? Is it a quantity thing?
So one thing that I'd say about this is, just before we get into that, is that obviously this could sound like a conflict of interest, and really it kind of is a conflict of interest. So I have zero say in any matching of anybody at all. Like I cannot, and we actually have this written into the way that we structured our deal, that like if somebody is being offered for one of my fighters to fight, I literally have a yes or a no, and that's the end of it. I can't ask for guys. It is so important for me to be ethical for these, because we are in an industry that is not ethical, man. Like, so that is super important to me to start off in the beginning. But I'm going to give you a bit of a weird answer for how to scale it. You don't. And I know this sounds insane, but I actually had a sit-down meeting with Scott Coker from Bellator. I was so grateful for his time, because he really managed to sort of save me making a gigantic error.
Interesting.
And he actually said to me, he said, you know, if you are looking to compete with a Cage Warriors or a KSW or anybody who's at a large international level, you're talking about a separate business model. You need to get yourself, and he quoted me, 100 to 150 million pounds worth of investment if you even want to see it.
You only got 80 million down. Damn it! Yeah.
Damn it! You know? Yeah. So that's going into crypto. No, so essentially what he was saying is like you've got a good thing going at the amateur level. It's profitable. It's reasonably profitable for what you're trying to do. You know, you are growing grassroots. We can build relationships with multiple different people. But the way that we expand our business model is by creating quality new networks with new gyms and expanding into different markets and increasing the number of shows that you do per year. So last year, I think we did 6 or 7. I should know that, shouldn't I? It's terrible. We did 6 or 7 shows. This year, we're doing 10. We're expanding into 3 new markets. And of those 10 shows, we have our tentpole events, the ones that we're really confident. We've got fantastic relationships with these gyms. And one thing I think is also is that like trust is earned in drops and it's lost in buckets. So you have to, we had to cancel an event quite some time back ago, and honestly, we tore our hair about making the decision, and it was one of the most painful things I've ever had to do because it damaged the trust with the people who invest in us. And so what we ended up doing is obviously taking our time to rebuild that trust, making sure that we put 50% of all of the profits of the company back into the company to ensure that never ever happened again. And even if we had to take a huge financial hit, we would never damage the relationships that we built with these guys who pay our bills and who we care for and who support us and actually come on the show and put their health on the line for the entertainment of the public. However, that being said, like how we grew in the first place was we were the first amateur show to offer a £10 commission ticket deal. And so what that means is for every ticket that a fighter sells for their performance, they get £10 from each ticket. And, you know, I don't mind telling you that we've paid some fighters thousands of pounds for this, you know, and you know, previously it was £5 or previously it was not. You're just fighting an amateur. You're not here to get paid. You're here to build experience and grow into the pro ranks. But no, the Almighty Fighting Champion was the first in the UK to do a £10 ticket deal. And I'll give you an example. I actually did fight on Almighty Fighting Championship way back in the day. I sold 57 tickets. I walked away with 570 quid, which as an amateur is a ludicrous amount of money. Like I'm a martial artist who's like, I think I was like a blue or a purple belt at the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My fight lasted a very short period of time. It finished in the first round by triangle. And I was just like...
You weren't in the triangle, by the way.
No. Yeah. Thanks for clarity.
Jiu-jitsu wizard, yeah.
Yeah, and so like I took away 570 quid and I was just like, I cannot believe that that's a thing. And obviously like me taking that money means the promoters made their slice. But it really taught to me, like I felt that feeling and I wanted to give that feeling out again. So we have just got a deal done to have our own gloves. We do post-fight interviews. We highlight people on social media. We've got guys doing highlight reels now. We need to really, really, really do the right thing to be able to make sure that these fighters have a pathway to the next level. And we're never going to hold them back. We're always going to promote them. And when the time is right, so for example, Mick Parkin's in the UFC fighting very shortly. He fought there. George Staines is in Octagon. He fought Almighty. Like we are here to be a stepping stone to the next level of their career.
It's interesting because I feel like your business model is, I guess, like you can go more events, but also actually spread throughout the UK and become that feeder organization of actually amateurs wanting to make a step, maybe the early part of their pro career throughout the entire nation actually would be the kind of vision with Almighty Fighter Championship.
100%.